Hello and how are you doing? Welcome to Purpose Small Youth Online. This is Youth Split, where we tackle matters concerning the youth. And before I introduce our guest today, I read for you this quote. You don't pass on the baton because you are tired. You pass on the baton because you have finished the race. Pastor T. Today we are talking about passing the baton, and I have a guest who has an interest in this topic, and he's writing a book about it. Welcome to Youth Split, Mr. Paul.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, just to start off, let us understand what is passing the baton.
Like you have said, passing on the baton is mostly known during a race, where we have a race like 4x100, where one person runs holding a baton, and then on the next level they hand it over to someone else, and then that person hands it over to someone else, and then they run until they get to the end of the race. So it's the same thing even with life, whereby you pass on the baton to one generation to the other, and we tend to duplicate who we are into the lives of the people and another generation and generations to come. So when you talk about passing on the baton, is like copying or duplicating your life or yourself into the lives of other people.
Okay. Let's have an understanding of what is one generation to the other. For anyone who is hearing that term today, or they have never understood it.
One generation to the other is like I have been born from my parents, so I am a generation of my parents, and then I also have my own siblings who will come after me. That are the generation that will follow now from him to another one. Then for him, he will have his own grandchildren and then great-grandchildren. So generations go flowing one after the other as people are being born, and as generations grow from one to the other.
Right. Now, in a relay, before you get to the field, or before someone recognizes that this person has this talent, they can run, how am I supposed to look like or behave, or how am I supposed to position myself before someone, this is on a spiritual level, let's say in like a church. How can someone notice that this person has potential, and I think they can go far with whatever line of service they are doing?
That's an interesting question, and I'll get back to the relay race. One of the things that happened, those people who have been selected to represent a certain team, one of the things that happens is that they have been observed for some time, and they have been seen maybe even running that race for some previous times. And at this particular time, they are selected among the best to represent a certain team. Like when we were in high school, we would have our school producing a certain set of 4 people who will run this race. And they were arranged in a manner which we were sure, or one would be very sure, that if we arrange or if we organize ourselves this way, that so and so starts and then the other person follows and another person follows, in the end we will win. So the same case even happens in a church. When you see like what is happening in Pefas Yokimau, you see Bishop Munyere has the vision for the church, and what he's doing is that he is now training a set of people who will understand the vision that he has. And now what he wants is that he wants now to release his vision into the lives of men, such that, like he said, that when he retires, he wants to leave the church in safe hands. So what happens is that as we are serving, like in the church today, as we are serving, a pastor will observe and say, Shelmith can be a good usher. The other person can be a good in playing keyboard. The other person can do this, the other person can do that. That is after they have been observed. So there is no specific positioning that people should take, but what I am saying is that, one, for him to be maybe given a certain task or for a certain position to be entrusted in them, then there must be something that they have perfected in. Someone have been good in ushering, and therefore the pastor will see and will just decide that we can make this person to be the chief usher because they have perfected themselves and they have done this. Even to be chosen as a youth pastor or the pastor for the Sunday school and all that, the pastor has observed and has seen how you are handling other people, how you are handling the children. Then you can be a good youth Sunday school pastor. When how you are handling the youth, you can be a good youth pastor. And therefore you position yourself, or where maybe you have positioned yourselves determines who you will become and what other people will maybe I don't know how to put it, but I can say that will determine the kind of the baton that you will receive from maybe the person that is over you. Yeah.
Right. So you're trying to say that I need to be doing something.
Yeah, you don't have to be idle. You cannot be in church seated only every Sunday coming to listen, and then you expect that you'll be chosen as the usher. You cannot be the youth chairman if you are just coming, listening the word and go. You must be engaged in church activities. You must be engaged in doing something for something to be entrusted in you. You must show accountability. That's what I want to say.
Right. And I think something that also the bishop has said, it's about being faithful. You have to be reliable, where if you work in a certain capacity, that the pastor or whatever place that you're serving or working in, that someone can rely on you, that they don't have to check in if you came in time or whether you showed up. You have to be faithful. Yeah.
Truth is, commenting also on that, truth is that you are not just being entrusted with a certain task because you have been observed. There are several times that maybe you'll be given a task maybe to undertake. You'll be entrusted to do something. You'll be called maybe to serve in a certain area. You serve in ushering, you serve in praise and worship, you serve in every other department in church. That way, when you are serving those different areas, that is when someone will be able to see, according to the way this person has been handling church finances, then we can choose him as the treasurer. According to the way this person has been coming to church, then we can make him an usher, because an usher does not come when the church is already settled. An usher needs to come church early so that they can maybe wipe the chairs and do all those other things. So you need to be actively involved in carrying out church activities, or not even church, even in our work areas where we work. You need to be actively being involved in doing some activities there for them to entrust you with something. Yeah.
Yeah, and also something I think that I can hear you saying is that it's not even in serving, it's the way you're serving.
Yeah.
You need to be serving well.
Yes.
For someone to see that,
Yes.
that this person has something in them,
Yes.
so that you can be, someone can give you maybe another higher capacity. Because I don't think we can serve for the sake of, I know I'm not supposed to be here, so let me show up anyway. Then hopefully someone will see me one day and I'll get a certain job. Yeah. And also, just to give a story that from one of our youth that they had given as a testimony. He used to come to church early for the prayer meetings, and he used to wear suits and all that. And then one day someone asked them, where do you work? Kwa mjengo. And from then he got a job because he had studied accounting, but the way he packaged himself was in a way where there was commitment. Yeah. I think those are some of the characteristics that we need to have, so that someone can identify you. And it doesn't necessarily to be in, it doesn't have to be in church. It can be in the marketplace. Because Christianity, we have to be Christians in whatever places that we are in, not only in church. So let's talk about someone has identified me, and now the training. Let's talk about the training so that I can be fit for this race.
In the issue of mentorship, the whole thing, I'll say something that my dad said during one of the mentorship classes. He said the issue of mentorship is so much dependent on the mentee. And we began by saying about positioning ourselves. There is so much that is required for me as a mentee that is not required of the mentor, because the mentor needs to understand what I want and who I want to become. And by the time that I am approaching the mentor, I need to be very sure of where I want to go. And I have observed what the mentor, the kind of the life that the mentor is living, and therefore I have gone to them because there is what I want to become. And I believe, even if I do not become like them, I believe that if I follow the path that they are following, then I will become that perfect person that I want to be. And therefore, the training itself is not an easy one, because it will require a lot of commitment. You need to be consistent. You need to sacrifice a lot. Sacrifice in terms of your time, money, and so much more. And you see, you don't only need to be present where your mentor is, you also need, after you have left the training, you need also to continue practicing what you have learned. In the race, when people are training, they don't train mostly because they want to, I don't know how to put it, but maybe you say that they do not mostly train for anything else. They train so that they can win the race. And that is why they go for training. So during the training, as they are training, the person who is training them will observe and we'll see we are training a set of 16 people. Out of these 16 people, I can see 1 or 2 or 3 are fit for the main race, or they are fit to represent us somewhere. So during the training, the mentor or the person who is now having the baton knows that if I give this baton to this set of people, then we are very sure that we will win the race. And the training itself, even the mentor, I cannot pass on the baton to you if I do not see accountability. Because I need to give you the baton if I have observed you and I have seen that you can really handle this baton very well. And that is why you see, even in the race, the person who begins the race, there is somewhere where they get to a point during the race. There is a point that they call the exchange zone. The exchange zone. And it has, they say that it is 30 meters. Initially it was 20 meters exchange zone, and then they would call another zone called acceleration zone, where after you have received the baton, now you can begin now the race. And there is a certain place after which you cannot receive the baton. You cannot receive the baton 30 meters before or 30 meters after. There is where there is where you should receive the baton from, and this is where we are calling the training the exchange zone. So when you are receiving the baton, then there is the hand that receives. If the person who is coming with the baton is holding the baton with the right hand, you receive it with the left hand. So that means that spiritually will tell us that I do not hand over the baton to you because I simply want you to become like me. I am handing over the baton to you because I want you to become the person who you want to become. I am only giving you the skills. I am only giving you the baton so that you can run the next 100 meters. And the way you should run is the way that you have seen me run. So this 30 meters is an interaction zone. I call it an interaction zone, where now the person handing over the baton can also interact with the person receiving. And these 30 meters, they can even run together, because this person will not just stand and receive the baton. He will go back and wait for this person, and as they come, they will begin running slowly by slowly with their hand turned back so that they can receive the baton. So they will have some interaction, and this is where now the training happens. So you will interact, both the person with the baton and the person receiving the baton. They will have somewhere where they are interacting so that they can exchange, and there shall come a point whereby after receiving the baton, now you can run on your own, and then we'll get a point now again you will go and hand over the baton to another set of people. So therefore we need to be very careful and to be very serious if we really want to be person who are future oriented. So if we do not focus, or if we do not set our minds ahead or in the future, then we create chaos. If we neglect learning right now, then we create conflict and chaos in future. Because what is happening right now, when you see this generation that we have, the generation where everybody is saying that this generation is crooked, this is a generation that cannot be taught, this is a generation that doesn't listen, it does not just happen. There is a baton that we have received. There is a baton that the generation that is there right now has received that is causing them to be who they are. And the exchange zone, the reason why these people will say that it is okay, you have already gone, or maybe this generation is like this, they are defining you because you are already past the exchange zone. So what happened is that during the exchange zone, someone messed up, or maybe someone didn't do what they were required to do. And therefore, what we need to do is to make sure that even in the future, we have tried to set ourselves properly and train ourselves, that even as we receive the baton, as we receive this training, we are also training other people.
Okay, before we get to the exchange zone, I need to understand how should my heart look like before in the training, because there is a training. I believe there is a training before I can be set up for that race. There is a training. How is my heart supposed to look like?
One of the things that maybe, Shell, I would say is that there's no training that is easy. And one of the things that maybe we can simply try to say about the condition of the heart during the training is that one should be very much determined that no matter what comes, I am in for this. No matter how hard the training is, I am in for this. Because some training will make some people quit. There are so many people who have quitted simply because they will go home saying that that training was hard, or the trainer was not, or the trainer was like this. They would define the trainer in a different way. So your heart, one, should be very, very submissive, and two, you should also be very ready to learn. And also, what the other thing that I would say is that you should also, during the training, you should also be ready to respect and honor, and also be teachable by the people who are now giving you the training, because there are people who would really want to learn, but then they are not teachable.
Yeah, let's talk about submission. We are submitting to that person who is training us. On Sunday, I went home thinking, I had a talk with my mentor, and I went home thinking, oof, it's harder than I thought, because they ask questions that require you to unravel, and it's uncomfortable. And first, there is a teaching. You've talked about a teachable spirit and being submissive. Let's expound on those points, and so that we can get how that is supposed to look like.
Wow, that's a good one. Now, what we need to say, and the only thing that maybe I can connect this one with, is that I can simply say that the issue of submission and the issue of you being teachable is so much dependent on who you have been before now joining the training, because you have been coached by life to be who you are. By the time that maybe probably you want to receive a baton from someone, or by the time that you need to pass on, or you want to receive the baton from someone, I would say that one of the things is that you are the one who have chosen who your mentor is. It is not your mentor that chose you. It is you who chose this person can be a good mentor of me. And you approached them and you talked to them and you decided that I want to walk a journey with this one. Now, these people, once you submit to them, before we discuss about submission, once you submit to them, then they will begin, you will share your vision and your dreams with them. And then one of the things that they will start doing is now to start now discussing and telling you the things that you need to do, the things that you need not to do, the things that you need to leave, the things that you need to adopt in your life. And what I'm saying is that when all this is happening, it is all dependent on where you have been. And therefore, our background really matters on how on how much we will submit, because there are people who doesn't submit. So submission is not easy, because the reason why you're saying it's uncomfortable is because you have already become someone. You have already developed into becoming someone. And someone telling you to live this kind of life and start living this other life, then you will find it so hard. Like when you are preaching, there are some people who it is very hard for you to win them for Christ. Reason being, they have already been involved or developed into a system that shows them that this is all that life is required of. And therefore, you need to really, really work on yourself. It is not the mentor to work on you. It is you so much to work on yourself, because the mentor has the vision. The mentor knows what is good for you. The moment you give them your vision, they now know that I can teach you this, you can go through this for you to become who you want to be. And therefore, it requires a lot of grace, a lot of God, but it has no option. Submission, if at all you want to learn, then submission does not have an option. And again, you cannot say that you want to become someone yet you don't want to learn. Then that is totally wrong. You cannot say that I want to become a driver and you don't want to go to driving classes. You cannot become a driver again also without also engaging yourself or even submitting to someone who will instruct you to tell you that here you accelerate, here you don't do this, here you look right, here you look left. So you need to be teachable and you need to submit. And it does not matter how old your mentor is. It does not matter how wealthy that person is. But the moment you submit yourself to an authority and you say that you want to learn, then you must submit yourself. There is no question. You must submit yourself. And once you submit yourself, then again, you cannot submit to someone. Then you say you don't want to learn. If you submit yourself and you don't want to learn again, then it is of no use.
Right. I've remembered the word that I thought to myself, it's being foolish, choosing to be foolish, so that you can learn, and so that you can obviously expand. You're looking ahead, so if you want to grow and become someone in whatever space you think that you're called in, whether it's family, you have to be foolish. And something that I've heard you say is that I need to work on me, and I also need to learn to work on me, and I need to also learn from this mentor. Now let's talk about that application of what I'm learning from my mentor, applying it in my life.
When you begin learning, when you joined any school, when you began learning, what happens is that the learning that you go through does not get into you immediately. You begin learning slowly by slowly. And whatever skills you are learning, you don't get to exercise them immediately, although they don't just get to start working in you immediately. Some of these things that you begin learning, what happens is that they get into you with the time. You want to become a teacher of mathematics, so that means that you have to learn mathematics. So it is something that for you now to be perfect in mathematics, it simply means that you have to be consistent. You have to learn for some time until these skills get into you, until these the formulas and all those things, they get now into your system. It shall come to a time now you don't have to struggle to learn. You don't have to struggle to do anything. But the moment you apply, you learn these skills, then it will be very easy for you to apply them in life.
Now let's talk about the exchange zone. We are talking about there is a distance that is required, the 30 meters distance, where you can't receive the baton before 30 minutes before, and or 30 meters.
30 meters, yeah.
Earlier or after.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the exchange zone.
The exchange zone, we can simply say it is the training period. Because when you are beginning the race, and when the race is coming to the end, through this, the mentor is there. During the people with the baton, the person who gave you the baton so that maybe you can proceed with another some 100 meters distance, and another one until now you come to the end. So that simply tells you that there is a season where you have the baton by yourself and you run with it. But then there comes to a time, maybe it's a generation that maybe you want to pass maybe a certain knowledge to a certain generation. You want to train a certain generation to live in a certain way. So this exchange zone, what happens during a race is that the person who is receiving the baton can go 30 meters, not 30 meters, but it is like 15 meters from the mark where 100 meters is, 15 meters back and 15 meters forward. So it simply means when I am standing at the 100 meters point, I can go back 15 meters to get the baton. And the person who is bringing the baton, I can run with him for the next 30 meters from the 15 meters back point where it is. So we can run with him for the next 30 meters. But beyond that, this person cannot give me the baton beyond that. And I cannot also go for the baton beyond the same distance of 30 meters. So that tells me that there is a point whereby I have to interact with my mentor. And this point whereby you are going back to receive the baton is a point where in life maybe you have not even discovered yourself. At 100 meters point, you are now ready to run for the next 100 meters. And that is why now you're going back to receive the baton. I have realized myself, this is what I want with life. This is who I want to become. And therefore, I want to get someone who will teach me how and who I want to become in life, because I already know. And I need someone who will give me the skills so that I can train myself and become who I want to be in life. And therefore, I am going back because I have seen a mentor. I have seen someone. And once I go back in humility, like we are saying, that you must submit, you must be teachable. And therefore, this is where you're saying that at this exchange zone, this 30 meters point, then I have to humble myself. As I receive the baton, I have to humble myself. The mentor has come into my life. Once he comes into my life, we are now in an exchange zone where he is training me. This is what I need to do with life. This is how you should handle a certain task. This is how you should live. These are the things that you need to do. This is the exchange zone. I need to learn. And the moment I learn, then I hold the baton. Then we run with the mentor. As we are running with him, we are holding the baton together. During these 30 meters, you can hold the baton together. So you go with the baton holding it together. And when you are almost to the point where 30 meters ends, He releases the baton to you and he sends. He does not just send you to continue running just like that. He sends you so that you can now continue with the baton and hand it over to someone else. And again, what will happen is that when you are getting to the next person, you also find another 30 meters exchange zone. And this exchange zone, we are also saying that it has also some 10 meters of acceleration, whereby after being taught, the acceleration zone is to tell you now, you have learned, now go teach other people, like what Jesus said. Whatever you have seen me do, go teach other generation. Go tell them, go do this. Yeah, that's the exchange zone.
Okay, we'll continue with that from next Friday. Next Friday, we are going to learn about what if the baton is someone drops it, or what if someone gives you the baton after the 30-meter perimeter. What happens to such, and what happens when there is a gap? So I hope you've learned a lot from this episode. Until next Friday, bye.